beautiful, everyone. Welcome to Have a Moment. In this show, we explore the intersection of personal growth, science, spirituality, and success. I am your host, Anahata Hollowell, founder of the Flow State Technique. And I'm really excited, to just dive in an authentic, raw way into strategies for you to unlock your potential, really overcome limitations, and achieve your goals, both business and in life, relationships, health. And so whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or just a parent, or someone seeking personal transformation, you are in the right place. And as the creator of the Flow State Technique, I really have dedicated my life to helping as many people discover what I call their genius zone, which is that sweet spot where purpose and passion and productivity all come together in service of the whole. And, I do use cutting edge neuroscience with time-tested practices like hypnotherapy, NLP, breathwork, energy psychology, and water science. So each episode of Have a Moment, I'm going to bring you different insights and experts, practical tools, inspiring stories to really help you tap into your own flow state, boost your creativity, and enhance performance and manifest the vision of your success in your life. And so I promise to bring people who are thought leaders, who have various fields and walks of life's perspectives to share their pivotal moments and actionable advice. And today, we have an amazing soul here with us, and she's going to introduce herself in just a second. But we recently had the pleasure of being together in this book, The Inside Effects Volume 2. And it is produced by Keith Leon S., and he's an amazing man. And I know because he's so amazing that this woman who's co-authored the book with me is amazing too. And I wanted to make this session really raw and ragged. We don't know each other yet. And so we're just coming into contact with each other, and you are seeing us get to know each other in this live setting. And I think I'm going to take off my glasses. They're reflecting. And so Ishita Todi, all the way in India now, and I'm in Southwest Florida. And all I really know about her is that she's in this book with me. She's a conscious parenting expert and or guide. I don't know how she really describes herself. And so she'll introduce herself more fully. But it's so amazing to have you on this beautiful space. Have a moment. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Anahata. Thank you for inviting me and for having me here. And yes, it is absolutely amazing, isn't it, that we've been together here. And so we already know that we have so much in common. And yet here we are facing each other for the first time. Very excited.
Yeah, it is. And I already know that we have a lot of synergistic components, because in the book, one of the cool things that he had us do is answer the same question, and we all had a different lens through answering it, but there's so much commonality. And I think if there's one word that seemed to bring us all together, it's the word consciousness. And so I guess we can start the conversation. What does consciousness mean to you? Because it is in the descriptor of what you do and I do. So there's some component that must be shared and discussed from our unique angle.
Right. So consciousness, to me, that's a really good question. How do we define consciousness? It's something to do with essence, really. And it's also something to do with intent, something to do with realizing that when we take charge and when we create an intention to be purposeful about our true essence, that we have the ability to tune in to the real potential of who we are.
Yeah, it's so true. And I really agree with the potential, because we're never done. We are expanding beings of light, and through our conscious awareness, and the exploration of who am I really? Who is this? What is this? We do grow together, and it's unlimited. There's never an end. We're never going to reach a point where we stop growing and learning and expanding. And if we do, I believe that's partially part of the reason why people experience pain, suffering, dis-ease, because of that stagnation. Life is about growth. And so, in my opinion, consciousness is the awareness that you are always in a potential state. And through that potential, you can explore unique advantages and experiences. And in that experience, you grow the very fabric of creation. And what is your perspective on that? Because I'm a non-denominational Christian, but I'm also a Buddhist, and I have all these Kabbalistic, things that are weaving through, and I'm really just a truth seeker. What are your roots, if you wouldn't mind? And also, I know this is transcendent of religion and labels, which is a whole nother, I believe, stagnation point where we put parameters around things, and then therefore we don't grow past them. But what is your upbringing and or philosophy, if there is something that's sort of holding your vantage together in a view?
Right. I absolutely agree with you that religion has shaped most of us. If it has taught us what to think, sometimes, a lot of times, it has even taught us what not to think, because we have this inner kind of resistance to the boxing in or the closing in of the boundaries, and yet we can't ignore it. So for me, I have had a really weird childhood because because I was born in a Jain family, and I don't know if people across the globe really know so much about Jainism as a religion. Buddhism has become extremely popular, uh, but the roots of both Buddhism and Jainism are in sort of a redefinition, or almost like a rebellion to Hinduism, because Hinduism had become so rigid, and it was not allowing any space for anyone to even think, right? And so Buddhism and Jainism came up as an attempt to reform during those times, and they're almost parallel, right? And so I was born in a Jain family, and my mom came from a Hindu family, and both my parents were not very religious to begin with. And a sentence I heard so often growing up was, humanity is the first religion. Need to be humans, right? So I grew up hearing that. Having said that, I have from a very young age been exposed to a lot of the rituals and the customs and the teachings of both the religions. And then my mom used to do a lot of Buddhist chanting. And then when I was not yet a teenager, as a family, we went for a Vipassana camp, which is again an offshoot from Buddhism. And in the Vipassana camp, when one goes in, it's 10 days of no talking. And
Oh my word. Or lack of word.
Yeah, and I did that when I was not even a teenager. So
Oh, actually, I want to pause you there, because I've lately felt that something is really amiss with the way we bring up our children, in that we miss out on that tender moment between the womb until around 7. We're in really slow vibrations in our brains, and we're soaking everything in, and it's all going into the subconscious as truth. And that is our programming. That's what we receive as true, and it is true because it's true. And then the law of attraction brings us that validation, and our reticular activating systems prove it. And that is what we pull from the ether as our reality as we move around. And oftentimes people don't even know after that what to do. There's this crisis that happens when we come out of that sleep into more awareness and choice, but then immediately we are bombarded by societal norms that are very damaging. Sounds like you were able to go into silence at that tender age, and in doing so expand. A lot of teenagers, especially in North America, don't have that advantage. And so then suddenly all these falsities come in as reality, and it becomes this uphill battle. I actually believe things like that, as you said, it seemed weird maybe now, not now, but to others, but that's just the type of thing that I think would set up our young kids into really becoming a unified, beyond me, non-egotistical part of society, where we're really nurturing our inner voices, listening to our intuition, allowing our uniqueness to come through, versus feeling like we have to do this, and look like this to fit in. And so that's a blessing that you were able to do that, even though it seems odd. Tell us more about that experience, and anything based on what I just said, if there's something that...
Yeah. So what happens in the Vipassana camp is when you go in, you take off everything, you take off your watch, you don't have access to the news, to the outside world, right? And you just go in, and you don't talk for 10 days. And there is a program, there's a schedule that is to be followed. And so you just follow that schedule. There's lots of meditation, there's physical exercising, there's mindful walking in the garden, there's nap time, meal times. Even during meal times, all the food is labeled. So there is absolutely no reason that you can conjure up to even say one word, right? And in the evenings, there's a lecture time. And it's only after the lecture time, for a short window during the Q&A, that you can say something. And there's so much breath work, and there's so much going inwards, following the breath, following every sensation in the body, right? And you come out of that, and it's like almost a rebirthing when you come out, because you see everything with fresh eyes.
I love it. It reminds me of that one quote or philosophy, and I don't remember who it's from. I'm a manifesting generator, so I take and pull things and put them together, and sometimes I don't give someone the proper credit for what I hear, but if I figure out who it is later, I'll put it in the description. But it's that whole, when you speak, make sure that it has certain components. One, that it's necessary. Two, that it's true. And three, that it's going to improve the vibration. And it sounds like and by improve, I simply mean elevate it rather than compress it, expand it. And so it sounds like you were really transformed in taking a pause, using the breath, not using words unnecessarily, because words are vibration, and we know through cymatics it's what creates. So I think all of us would do so well to take those moments and those pieces of pause. And our society teaches people to just keep thinking, talking, and then we miss out on the subtleties, the space between. And so tell us more about what happened when you came out of that beautiful awakening.
So the reason I told you I had a weird childhood is because I'm a single child. And so obviously I don't have siblings, but then I had a grandfather, I had uncles and aunts, many of them. And I was the only child. So I had, in my everyday life, I had 9 adults focused on one child. And None of them, not one of those 9 adults was a mild personality. Everybody was a strong personality. And it's almost like this started hitting me in my 20s when I was trying to process what had happened. All of them, it was like they had one mission, which is to impart what was important to them and what they were passionate about to me. And so I had these people all trying to shape me in their way. And so, like you say, that till a certain age, children, we just absorb, absorb, absorb. But even while I was doing all that absorbing, I was so aware of the conflicts, and I was so aware of the contradictions in what was coming to me as truth. And then with this whole Vipassana and Jainism and Buddhism and everything, I think at a very, very young age, I learned to keep things there and to analyze them for myself, because I didn't even have a sibling. I didn't have anyone my age to bounce it off or to share those things with. So I did not just absorb it blindly. And I think that has become my biggest strength, that enables me to really analyze and to validate things before just taking them in.
Yeah. Well, and then how did this, obviously, it seems like you had many parents, right?
Mhm.
Lots of people parenting you. So then it's
100%.
natural for you with your spiritual upbringing and the bombardment of, oh, I must pause and translate. Now you're very well rounded and you can see from different windows to help
Mhm.
others do the same, because it seems like a lot of us just go down one track and we're very reactionary, which when you're parenting is not a good thing. You need to respond versus react, or else
Yeah.
suddenly you're on terrain that is just as confusing. But so tell me, how did this develop? Obviously, those are strong foundational roots. I'm assuming through your exploration of what is what and what happened and your processing, as you understood, then you felt like, wow, this is my calling to then help others make sense of what most people don't make sense of at all. It's not a thing. It's a very new age sort of, and I don't mean, new age woo woo. I mean, it's just a new thing to explore, like your role as a parent and your child, and how to form healthy relationships with them to help them become the best that they can be, which is hopefully the purpose of every person who endeavors in parenthood. So talk more about the journey. How did this come into revelation and pursuit? And then what steps did you take to get to where you are now with all of this?
So yeah, it also developed in me the ability to be an extremely good listener, and it developed in me the ability to be very quietly assertive. Um, and so all those things have come together beautifully for me, I think. Uh, and in my work today, it really helps me connect to people, because for me in my life, it was very literal, like you said very rightly, that there were so many parents, right? But basically just influences. And in today's world, we also have so many strong influences around us in the form of media and celebrities and idols and people we follow and trends. And, it's in a different form, but still the same thing, where today almost every child is in that same situation where you have so many strong messages coming at you, and not all those messages are in sync with each other. They are contradicting each other. So how do we help the children of today develop those abilities to just not get carried away, to just not take everything as a truth just because it's being served to them like that?
Mm-hmm. And it
So
sounds like parenting the first step of any teaching others is to really do it for yourself. So are you also teaching parents to parent themselves?
Okay, so I think we're going to take a little detour in our conversation here and take a minute to define parenting, as in how I define parenting. And so, how I like to put it out is we all are affecting each other, whether we like it or not, whether we admit it or not. The fact is, we all are affecting each other, right? And parenting is just taking responsibility for having an effect on others around us. That's how I like to define parenting. So when we're talking about literal parents and children, everything the parents do is affecting the children. It's not only the things that you're doing in front of the children, but everything you do is affecting your child, right? Now, when you take responsibility for that, when you become aware and conscious that, yes, I am affecting my child, automatically that makes you a better parent. And in that sense, we're not only parenting our children, we're parenting our parents, our friends, we're parenting our business, we're parenting our spaces, right? And obviously, when we look out, we can find so many people and things and situations that we parent. And so we forget that the one person who needs our parenting the most is ourselves. Because everything that we're doing is affecting us. Even though we might be doing it for someone else or something else, it's still affecting us. So when we take responsibility for that, we're really stepping into our power. We're shifting from victim to victor mode. And so it all begins, of course, with parenting ourselves, because it's just responsibility.
I love it. I love it. And I want to get back to the rest of your journey. I just wanted to add to that very well put framing that I always call it taking full ownership of yourself in the fact that you are getting all of you on board with all of you, because to take responsibility means you understand that there's a choice. And that actually has driven my work into, do we really have a choice? Meaning we get bombarded by so much information that has to be processed on default through limitations rather than expansive opportunities. I'm talking about the subconscious, So
Yeah.
what's your take on when you take full responsibility of your vibration consciously, if that's only about 10%, the rest is the subconscious. So when you work with really getting people on board with all of them, do you address the subconscious in that process? And how does that work?
Okay, so I have an analogy for you here. How I like to explain it to my clients is you walk into a room and you see one person standing right in the middle, being very, very loud, right? So you have no choice but to listen to what they're saying. And the more you listen, the more you realize that they're not making a lot of sense. But the thing is, they're standing right in front, being very, very loud. So, at which point are you going to allow yourself to look around the room? And as soon as you do that, you will find there are 9 other people in the room. And when you look at their faces, you know that they're not in agreement with this one person. When you look at their faces, you know that they have a lot of value that they can share with you. So your job then becomes about navigating yourself past this person to those 9 people. And your job becomes about shutting down that part of you that is listening to this person and really tuning into these 9 people, because that's where the wisdom is. And so, of course, the one person I'm talking about is the conscious mind, and the 9 people I'm talking about is the subconscious mind. Because these 9 people have everything that you will ever need.
Yeah.
Any question that you might have, any situation that you might find yourself in, anything that you feel challenged by, these 9 people have all the answers. So it is just about you tuning into them rather than to this one person.
Yeah. Yes. Say it. It's true. It's true. It's true. And also, it takes, I think the one word is being mindful more of the time, which is also difficult in our day and age, but it's also why we do things like breath work and meditation and just being in the now moment.
Mhm.
But tell us more about your journey to this culmination of your unique methods and how you help people, because there's more of a story, I know, that we didn't get to because I sort of switched gears on you, but that was valuable, what you just said. And
Thank
it's
you.
such an important part of understanding that just because there's one loud, relevant person doesn't mean what they're saying is relevant. We always have to question what's going on really and reunite.
So, well, on my journey, I think I have been a spiritual shopper for many years, and because I didn't have very strong roots as in into any one religion or any one school from my childhood, I was exposed to all these things. I went to pranic healing, I went to Reiki, I went to art of living, a bunch of others. I went all over the place. And with due credit to each of them, because each of them have been a stepping stone on my journey. So it's not like I want to discredit anyone. Uh, and yet the journey never ended or culminated in any of them. It always was a stepping stone, because every single time I would find myself with some questions which were not addressed. And I kind of developed this understanding that, and I say this often again, is that Buddha wasn't a Buddhist and that Christ wasn't a Christian, right? So every time that we have an enlightened soul, a great one, a teacher, an avatar, however we like to call them, right? They come down with a mission to spread the message of love. And because they are enlightened and because they are in the light and they know what they're about, they don't really care about the power. And so they come and they do their job and they go. But then what comes after them, somewhere or the other, it becomes a game of power. And that's where the control and the manipulation and the fear and the corruption and the do this otherwise, all of that happens, right? And so because of that, I found myself always questioning and not finding answers, moving on, moving on. And when I was in my 30s, I found myself in a spot where I was very, very disillusioned. And I said, you know what? Everything that I have learned is more than I can handle, more than I can practice. So at this point, I just need to sit down and practice instead of making it about the mind and making it about the question and the answer and trying to understand and seek. Just practice. And whatever is meant for me will come to me, because we all have heard when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I said, I'm going to just work on myself and I will become the best student, and whoever is the right teacher for me will have no choice but to appear.
Mm.
And that's exactly what I did. And so my teacher literally came to my house looking for me in the strangest turn of events. But she came to my house. And the day she came to my house, that day at night when she left, I just told my husband that all this, everything else was just a drama, right? But the real reason she came was to find me, and she's found me, and she's going to take me away. And that is what happened. And so my teacher is Sidra Jaffrey, who wrote The Awakening. And she set up something called the School of Awakening. And again, the same story, same. She didn't care about the power, but then the people care about the power. So she's gone, and she has taught me the most invaluable lessons. And she empowered me in a way that makes me do what I do now. Because she just said, just talk. You just do you. Whatever is in your heart, just allow it to pour out. And that's how I set up Awakened Parenting. And that's what's happening.
I love it. Now, did she pass on? Is when you say she's no longer here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. How many
Yeah.
years did you have with her before she departed?
So I had about 4 years with her. And in those 4 years, we spoke every single day, no matter where on the planet we were, but we spoke every single day. And yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is.
Well, you're very lucky to have that, knowing that through your asking, she will come and you don't need to seek. You don't need to keep asking. I mean, I ask, align, allow, activate. That's my methodology. You do need to know what you want, but through your asking, in order to align, you've got to surrender. So it's you ask, you align because that's your intention, that's your North Star. But then the only way to get there when you're here is to let go and allow. And then
Yes, exactly. And that entire experience has been so empowering for me. And it's really taught me at a very, very deep level to not seek, to desire, to know, to hold, and then to let go. And to just trust. And and again, this is a contradiction, but because of this lesson having been integrated at whatever depth it has been integrated, I really don't do advertising or marketing, or with God's blessings, the clients just come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you will share where we can find you soon, because I'm sure people listening to this are going to be like, oh my gosh, she's incredible. And I would love for you to talk to us about the things you offer and you know, the things that people can connect with you for, because it's clear you have a wealth of wisdom, and whatever you call it, it doesn't matter the name of it, it does, but it's more of a ebbing and a flowing, which I love. And also, when you were speaking, it reminded me of the profound realization that I had many years ago when I was facilitating a meditation. I took my students in vision to hover above crops and to see a crop circle, and whatever came forth, that was the message from within that they wanted, that they needed to receive at that moment, through surrender and just allowance and non-expectation, really. And so I was able to take the activation as well at the same time, because that's what I do. I pre-record it so that I can experience it with my students. And so I was there looking above and didn't know, I had no preconception of, this is where when you're truly journeying, you aren't, it's like you're watching a movie and you don't know what's going to happen next. You aren't like in control. It's like, it's all just happening and you're like, ooh, let's see what's happening. And so I am there and I see this circle, and then there's 6 spokes on it. And on the end of every spoke, there's another dot. And the dot on that was 6 spokes. And so it was a fractal. And I heard the words zoom in to zoom out. zoom out to zoom in. And it's very paradoxical, but something you were saying really reminded me of, really, to get to through the complexity, you need to make it more simple. And in making things more simple, you actually are getting more of the whole. Zoom in to zoom out to zoom in. So I think that's a very important way to be in the world. We overcomplicate things, and oftentimes we just need to zoom out, and in zooming out we'll get more of the complexity, and certainly we can zoom in, but once we zoom in, we do need to zoom out again and simplify to really get to the core of what it is. Otherwise we will be overwhelmed, and that is no place for flow. When you are overwhelmed, you shut down. Also, if you're bored, spice it up. That is the root of flow state technique, is getting that sweet spot between you're engaged and you're expanding. And to do that, you can zoom in and zoom out. So thanks for sharing all of that with us. And do tell us, anything you'd like to talk about, but let's get into sort of your unique approach and the way you work with people, and how people can work with you.
Okay, so I love that. I love that zoom in to zoom out and zoom out to zoom in, because it's really what it is, really. That is exactly what it is, right? And so how I work with people is I work online, I work on Zoom, I have sessions, 40-minute sessions. The sessions are not where anything happens. The sessions are just to exchange energies and ideas and to understand each other where we're at. At the end of every session, I guarantee that you will find yourself with a shift in perspective because of what we've spoken about. After the session, you will receive your home play for the week, which could be an affirmation, it could be a meditation audio, and I pre-record a lot of audios. It could be a question that I would want you to ponder on. I teach people how to journal in the correct way. I teach people how to understand their bodies and what's going on in their bodies, the signals of their body. So what my teacher Sidra taught me is her process, which she called ABC, which stands for Access, Bodies, Consciousness. And so I use that process in my work a lot, which is allowing the body to communicate through all our senses. All 5 of our senses can tune in to any sensation in the body and decode that. So there's some amount of NLP involved, and I do not have a fixed curriculum because, again, very, very strongly rooted in the idea of individual journeys that we're all on. So there can never be a curriculum that will fit to, leave alone many people, even 2 people. And so my work is strictly one-on-one. And it's just, you are in the driver's seat. The client is always in the driver's seat, because it's their life, is their journey, their experiences, and free will. We always, always recognize free will. Even if someone came in to address a stomach bug and find themselves talking about a relationship issue, we talk about the relationship issue because we know that it's all connected, right? It's at which level that the person is choosing to look at it on that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's how I work.
And do you work with families or just one person? This conscious parenting definition must magnetize parents. Are these parents who are just one of them? Like, how does that dynamic work? I assume your work is so much broader, but who do you prefer to work with? And if there is a preference?
I do land up working with a lot of families. In fact, I have a client right now who's a relapse of cancer for the 4th time. And we've been working, and she's feeling a lot better. This round, the side effects are very minimal. She's responding very, very fast, which the doctors were not expecting. So that's the usual drill. But now her family is coming on board, and that's always how it pans out. There's always one person who comes with one issue, but then very soon the family gets on board. So her daughter just had a discovery session with me yesterday, and the first thing I told her is, don't believe that any magic will happen just because your mom said so. Why do you want to work with me? And she said she sees the difference in her mom. I'm like, okay, yes, you can believe what you see, but don't get on board just because mom said. Right? And so everybody is an individual, and yet we're all part of families, and as souls in the soul consciousness, we have chosen our families for the lessons that we are going to teach each other. And yes, I do work a lot with families.
Yeah. Now, something that we both share a love for is because I know when we did our author's debut for our book. By the way, guys, go get a copy of The Inside Effects, Volume 2. Woo! Shameless plug, but it's such a good book. There's 17 or so of us in the book, and it's just like, wow, you can just flip through and then read, and it's a nugget of gold for the day. It's a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous book, and Keith Leon S has done such an amazing job. This is his second volume, so go get both. But something that I really connected with you from afar before we even met was your introduction to speaking. You were talking about the power of water. And so I assume you use water with your clients as part of this wholeness, because we know, you and I know, that 99% of us molecularly is water, and that water holds memory and information, and it's a container, but it's also an emitter, and it's a consciousness. And so if we are to really make progress in our lives to reunite that unification portion of it, also, with Chinese medicine, water is emotion, energy in motion. So I assume water's a large component of what you're working with. How do you see water, and how is it used in your interactions with your clients?
Water is life, really. When we're looking for life in outer space, we're looking for water first, right? When we're studying history and when we're looking at how civilizations are found, we're looking for the source of water. Water is life. I mean, it's undeniable. And I talk about using the infinite potential of our minds. Our superpower is our mind. And I talk about combining our intentions and our thoughts consciously to the water, not just the water we're drinking. I even talk about the water we're showering with. And I talk about how sometimes we want the shower to wash things away. And sometimes we want the shower to rain down stuff on us. And that right there is an example of how powerful our mind is. It can think anything, right? And we're just constantly in water. Our bodies are made of water. Before we took our first breath of air, we were swimming in water inside our mother's wombs. Every cell contains water, and the water is constantly moving in our bodies. And so using it, we're constantly thinking, we're constantly doing these two things anyway. So it's just about activating it and doing it with intention. So I talk a lot about this, and it's really, I think, one of the cheapest and one of the fastest ways to change things.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. That's, the cornerstone of the flow state technique is working with your bio water, the internal water, that is
Mhm.
already in a fourth phase, which is sacred. It's online with divine, as you were saying earlier. We already have the answers because we're connected to all. The all is first mental and then emotional, and that electromagnetic grid sets up into motion the experiences we have through the magnetism of our vibration. And so when you work with your water, you're getting all of you on board with all of you. And that way, when you can become the person you truly meant to be and uncover the gifts, when you're no longer in stress response and fight, flight, frozen, and condense, you start expanding into your genius zone and then contributing to the planet. And I know this is probably what you help people do as well, return to wholeness so that you can function in the world. And you do so through relationships. Relationships are so key, how we communicate with each other, what we allow, what we don't allow, to really bring out the best in each other, because we are one, we are a united organism. And water is a key. I don't know if you work with the Ayurvedic philosophies of balancing your doshas and all of that, but there's just so much to it there. And it's not woo-woo science. This is neuroplasticity. It's like, what is holding up? What are you? What is your brain? It's 99.9% water molecularly. And we're so focused on the matter. But if we were see-through, you'd see that we're just water. We're just walking. We're water covered by this external shell, which is water within, water without. There's vapor in the air. Water is the main thing here, H2O, H3O2. And we could get very scientific, but if we aren't addressing the ability of your own water to carry your intention forward on default, then we're missing out, and we're allowing ourselves to be on autopilot that is inevitably, I want to ask you about this. A lot of us, as you said, we come into the family we're meant to come into in the circumstances for our soul growth, because we chose that. And there's an awful lot of terrible things that people are born into. And it's hard for a lot of people to get out of their victim mentality, because why would they choose that? But that is the very thing that's going to keep them stuck. What's your take on everything I just said? I know it's a big ask, but also just this whole growth process, because you and I was blessed with an amazing family as well. 3 brothers, 3 sisters, 2 high school sweetheart parents that are still in love. We just had their 15th anniversary. I didn't even know there was a thing as dysfunction until I was in high school, and my friends, I'd either go to their house or I'd go to their house and go, oh my word, and they'd come to my house and go, oh my word. It was like, I had no idea. I was very sheltered, but then I had to learn my lessons later through my dysfunctional marriage. So I feel like no matter if you're born into it, you're going to go through that sort of rite of passage anyway. And I assume you see that, but what's your take on all of that? And also just children in general who have been placed in a difficult upbringing with parents who have no wisdom, and you work hopefully with people who are still trying to figure that out too, because not everyone's going to have someone like you to tell them how to parent consciously. And again, it's too late for them because they are now an adult. So they have to kind of go back and relearn, if you will, their childhood in order to be the parent that they should be when they become a parent, if they are so blessed. Anyway, I don't really have a question other than a comment. If you want to respond and get into any of that, I welcome it.
So there's a paradox here that I talk about, and the paradox is the parents never choose the children, right? It's the children who choose the parents, because the children were in soul consciousness and the parents had already been on the other side of the veil of amnesia, living their life on earth. But depending on how they've turned out, and they've created these situations, they've created these little environments, the souls who are in the soul consciousness are then choosing the parents, like, oh, that looks like a fertile environment for me. So that's one thing, right? And then the other thing is, when parents complain about their children, for me, it's like, it's never the child's fault. It's never, ever the child's fault, because the children are only responding. The children are only giving you output what you have put in. So it's like a polarity almost, where on the one hand it's like all the control is with the children because they've chosen the parents, and yet when whatever the situation is, it's never the child's fault, it's the parents' fault. And how I kind of bring these two together through the conversations, through the work that we do, how we blend these two together, even though they look like such opposing theories, but they're really not. They're just two sides of the same coin. It's how you're looking at it. And so my work loosely follows this pattern of bringing these two ideas together. Whether people are talking about their childhood trauma because they want to blame their parents. So then we jump into, but you chose them. They didn't choose you. Right? Whether children are talking about the issues that they're having, there's dysfunction in the family, there's a not happy environment, and they don't have the control because it's the parents who are creating that environment. So it goes back to, but you chose them for being exactly this way. So what's the lesson in this? And when you were talking earlier about the water, so I resonate a lot with the moon because I don't know, maybe because of my sun sign. But for me, it's the water on the moon, right? The way the moon magnetizes the water on Earth. So my full moon and my new moon meditations are like my anchors. And a lot of my home plays and everything is based on the energies that are created by these two phases. From new moon to full moon is the whole energizing phase. And from full moon to new moon are the cleansing phases. And so this is something that is non-negotiable for me. I do the full moon and the new moon meditations, and these are just on demand. I don't post them, but I don't charge for them. So anybody can just ask for it and I will share it. And once you get added onto the mailing list, you keep receiving the updates and you can use them. So a lot of people just use the full moon and the new moon meditations, and it's not the same meditation. I record one every time because obviously, right? It's the month and it's the times and it's the energy and what's going on. So even though it's a cleanse and even though it's an energizing manifestation meditation, it's still highlighting one particular aspect. And I get a lot of feedback from the people who use my meditations. This is what I was thinking. How did you know that? And I'm like, I didn't know that. We're all just plugged in to the same energies. I have no superpower. We're just all plugged into the same thing.
I am so glad that you took the conversation there because I know you know nothing about me either. And so one of the reasons why we definitely magnetize together, I believe, is through your love and understanding of the power of cycles with the moon. One of my flagship program that I offer is a 30-day guided journey called a liquid plan. And we do involve neuroplasticity and inner water work and external water work, but it's all juxtaposed. It's set on the timeline of the moon, and we start on the full moon. And as you said, as that energy goes down, we are stripping away, we are undoing, we are we're coming into this place of purity and unlimited potential. And then the new moon comes into this beautiful opportunity to set our intention. And then I teach people to actually get to where they want to go. A lot of us are very good at dreaming, but we don't take the steps and we don't pivot and we don't do well with setbacks. But to your point, the moon is the thing that if you're missing, I feel like Wholeness means that you're expanding in all directions simultaneously, and there's not an aspect that is stifled or unclear or unseen. And in terms of wholeness, the moon is just that. It's going to honor the whole 360 degrees perspective of manifestation. There's a time for rest. There's a time for planting seeds. There's a time for growth. There's a time for harvesting. There's a time for letting go and letting things pass through and pass on, and round and round around we go again. It's never done, you know? So I do it live as well, and it's always different, and it's a 30-day cycle. But I would love to have your beautiful offer for my tribe of I call it the lunation, because there's, you know, the lunation is the time it takes, you know, it's 29.5 days ish. And how fun is it that and that it's a nation. It really is a nation of people who are doing this together and choosing and growing and expanding. And I'd love to have them meet you. And so I want to introduce you to the tribe and connect you with them, and connect all the beautiful listeners of Have a Moment. I don't even know what we're going to call this segment. Have a Moment with, it's just so expansive. Maybe with expansion. I was going to say it's with parenting, but it's so much more than that. Can you share where people can find you, where they can join that newsletter so that they can get the guided activations, the meditations?
You can get me on Instagram at an awakened parent, or you can get my email, which is Ishita at anawakenedparent.com. So it's Ishita, Ishita, at anawakenedparent.com.
Okay.
So
and I'm going to put your bio and all the links in the description, guys. If you didn't write that down correctly, go click on the description. It will be there. And I just can't wait to have you on again, and also introduce you to my tribe. It has been, I cannot believe, I'm like, excuse me. It's been over an hour, I guess. What just happened? That is flow, baby. That is flow. When time dilates, and it's really like a minute takes forever, and 60 minutes takes a minute. I feel like we literally just began. Is there anything you want to share that we didn't touch on? I don't want to put a time constraint on your wisdom. Anything that's on your heart that you think the listeners would love to hear, or that you would like to share with them?
I mean, I so agree with you that we've only just begun talking, and I don't want to start off a new topic right now. But because we were talking about the moon, I just want to say how I look at it as is Father Sun, Mother Earth, right? And so child moon, because the moon is the one that goes round and round, and it brings up all the emotions, it brings up all the desires, and it's the one doing all the fun stuff. But it's Father Sun, Mother Earth, and child moon. So that's the family, right? And so in our parenting journey, where do we find ourselves? Sometimes we're the father, sometimes we're the mother, sometimes we're the child. And so that's how we plug in.
You just blew my mind. I have major angel bumps all over, confirmation. Yes, 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 yes. And what a perspective. This brings so much inner standing for me that I need to explore with regards to doing this inner child work. And oftentimes we do just do the sun, and sometimes the mothering, but this understanding that the moon is also child, and the interplay. Father, you know, this is the triangle again, the triad, the trinity.
Yeah, it is a trinity. Is the father, the mother, and the child. And we're all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I adore you. I am so pleased that you were able to come on the show today. And guys, I'm going to put all her links here. You know, come to neuro-manifesting.com if you want to know more. And I'm definitely want you to just say your places one more time.
It's an awakened parent on Instagram, and my email ID is ishita at anawakenedparent.com.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ishita, this is the very first of many, many conversations I know that we're going to have. And I was just so honored and thrilled to have you on Have a Moment. Guys, I am your host, Anahata Hollowell. Thanks for being with us today. And until another now, like, subscribe, and know that you are here, you are loved, and you are such a blessing to this world. Go and expand and create and explore and ask, align, allow, activate. And definitely let me know if there's someone you want to see on this beautiful show. I'd love to have as many people expanding consciousness through love as possible on Have a Moment. And I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much again, Ishita. It was beautiful having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so, so much. I don't know where the time has flown.
Me neither.
Lots
Well, we
of
will
love.
this and we will absolutely continue, guys. So stay tuned for that conversation coming soon and be well. We'll chat soon, everyone. Bye for now.